Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 56 of Camera Position, a podcast about the creative side of photography. The voices you hear behind me are the voices of a herd of sheep. A herd of sheep that I encountered on my trip to Italy this past summer in the beautiful, somewhat desolate, but very beautiful province of the Abruzzo, a province on the eastern coast of Italy. Very beautiful, very remote, and rather desolate, and has been the home of sheep for a really long time. There has been a tradition for centuries called the transumanza, which is the Italian word for a migration that happens twice a year of sheep and cows from the highlands to the lowlands and back again, depending on the season. The word translated kind of loosely means crossing the land, and it is an ancient custom that today is not terribly much in existence, and yet this is still something that happens of shepherds guiding their sheep across the landscape. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this experience today on this episode of Camera Position. So I saw these sheep and this shepherd, and I went up to the shepherd and I asked him, may I make photographs of your sheep? And he said, of course, you'd be more than welcome to. And I told him that I was using a tripod, and he said, set up the tripod over there and the sheep will come by. Well, because he knew obviously where the sheep were going to go. And so I set up my tripod, and of course I also had a goal of photographing him along with the sheep. But what I wasn't prepared for was the speed with which these animals were going to move. I was not prepared for them to really kind of continue to move very quickly, nor was I prepared for them to come literally right by my camera. Now, those of you who have been listening to Camera Position for a long time know that my primary tool is a large format camera. So here I am with this big camera on a tripod. And the idea of being able to take a picture once every, 4 or 5 minutes is something. But so what happened was this. The sheep began to rapidly move around my tripod. Now, I was thinking, well, I'll get a shot and then I'll refocus and recompose, and I'll get another shot and I'll refocus and recompose, and maybe I'll get 3. And what I decided to do at some point was quickly shift to my wide-angle lens, a 120 millimeter lens, approximately the equivalent of, say, a 30 millimeter lens or 35 millimeter lens on a 35 millimeter camera. And I made a guess at focus based on how far away the film plane was from the lens, and just tilted the camera down, stopped it way down, and just started banging film holders in and out of the camera, trying to make some photographs of these sheep as they moved past me. So here I was in a situation where what I really needed was a small format camera to be able to capture the movement of these animals as they came around me, and I'm literally, of course, just desperately afraid that they're going to knock my camera over, and here they are running past me. But my fears were ungrounded, and they were very gentle as they walked all around, right around me, and almost right underneath the legs of the tripod as I continued to make photographs of them as they came by. So what you're seeing here are the best of the sort of random blind shots. Now remember, those of you who have not used a view camera, there is no viewfinder if there is a film holder in the camera. And since what I was doing was just making picture after picture after picture and hoping for something, I got a few somethings. And so as the sheep began to head off into the distance, I was still standing there with the shepherd, who was interested in what I was doing, and I got him to stand for this portrait. And in fact, I shot 3 sheets of film of him until his boss came up and in a pickup truck and wanted to know why he wasn't following the sheep. But the boss was even quite gracious with me and understood what I was up to. The picture that I think I'm going to end up showing is a cropped version. I rather liked the full figure version, but I think I really like this cropped version, which lets us see his face a bit, and his equipment that he's carrying along with him. The next thing that was interesting to me as this hustle and bustle and scurry and noise of these animals had gone by was where they went. And I switched then to a longer lens, a 210 millimeter lens, and watched the sheep climb up this hill on this path on the other side of a little valley. And that was interesting, just seeing how they began to become part of the landscape. These animals that just 5 minutes before had been right there next to me, and here they are really moving along. And the shepherd had run quite a long way to catch up with them. So the nameless shepherd from the Abruzzo countryside, thanks so much for a really interesting experience. And interesting, obviously, photographically. I had a great time. I was at the end of it just laughing uproariously because it was just too much fun. But it also was a great lesson in the ideas of photography and how photography works, and our anticipation of an event being different. So here I was, caught literally with the wrong tool at the wrong time, and I didn't have time to go get a better tool. I had my Hasselblad in the car, and I had a digital point-and-shoot camera in the car. But here I was with this large format camera photographing subjects that were moving past me very quickly, and I tried to make lemons out of lemonade, and in fact got something that I was rather pleased with. I got some pictures of the sheep that I think are pretty interesting, different from the architectural work that I am primarily interested in. But boy, I'm just interested in these moving objects. I've always been a sucker for objects moving in still photographs. And it was just a wonderful experience to be there, and the idea of being able to just sort of say, well, okay, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, and if I stop, I'm not going to have any photographs. I may not have any photographs if I keep making pictures, but why don't I keep trying and see what might happen? So that is the the parable of the sheep here in the Abruzzo in the summer of 2007. And just the idea that if you are stuck in a situation without the right stuff, just try using the wrong stuff. And sometimes something might happen that has some value for you, whether that value is photographic or just the wonderful experience of experiencing this situation. Well, thanks for joining me on this episode of Camera Position. I very much appreciate it. I know that there are a number of new listeners out there, and I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for downloading and taking a listen to the podcast. And don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast from the iTunes store or with any podcast reader. And the appropriate links are there on the cameraposition.com blog page, as well as the ability to just search Camera Position or Jeff Curto in the iTunes store, and you'll be able to find me right there. And also in a number of other podcast aggregators that are out there to put together podcast content. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, and go out there and make some photographs. Find a situation where you've got all the wrong stuff and you're ill-prepared, and see what happens. See what happens with your photographic moment. Thanks again, and we'll see you again on the next episode of Camera Position, a podcast about the creative side of photography. Camera Position is a proud member of the Photocast Network, your photo resource in the potosphere. photocastnetwork.com